Picture two people in the same parking lot. One just pulled up in something new. Lease payment somewhere north of $800 a month. Chrome trim, tinted windows. He checks his reflection before he walks in. Quick, almost automatic, like he doesn't realize he's doing it. The other one drives something older. Faded paint, nothing worth a second look. He doesn't pause at the window, just locks the door and walks. If you had to bet which one actually has money sitting in an account somewhere, which one isn't checking his balance at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday? Most people guess the first one. I know I did for a long time. Here's the quiet part most people miss about looking successful. It costs money. Not just a little, a lot. When you walk into a room with something expensive on the shoes, the watch, the car, key you set on the table, you're not just buying the thing. You're buying what the thing says before you open your mouth. And that's not irrational. People notice. They do make assumptions. Signaling works. But here's what the spending data actually shows. The people putting the most money into looking wealthy are often the ones who can least afford it. A 2016 study published in the Journal of Consumer Research tracked spending behavior against net worth across income groups. The pattern was consistent. Households that felt socially outpaced by neighbors or co-workers were significantly more likely to spend on visible goods. The car gets newer, the clothes get branded, the vacation gets photographed. Not because income went up, because status anxiety went up. When you feel like you're falling behind the people around you, you spend to close a gap that only exists in perception. And the spending creates the real gap, the one in the bank account, the one no one can see from the parking lot. There was a guy I worked with for 3 years, drove a 2009 Camry. Same jacket every winter, dark green, nothing on it. You'd walk past him in a hallway and not remember it. He retired at 54. You start noticing it once you know what to look for. The people who actually have money, most of them don't look like anything. They're wearing shirts with no announcement on them. They're driving things that run fine. They're living in houses that don't make anyone stop and stare. They're not hiding wealth, they're just not performing it. There's a difference. What makes someone wealthy isn't what they spend, it's what they keep. Every dollar that goes toward looking successful is a dollar that stopped working. It bought a moment, a glance, an assumption, a small hit of social confirmation, and then it was gone. Wealth doesn't come from what people see, it comes from what you don't spend. According to Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finance data from 2022, the households with the highest accumulated net worth aren't reliably the ones with the highest incomes. They're the ones who consistently kept more of what they made and let it compound over years without touching it. That's not a motivational observation. That's just what the numbers show, repeatedly across different income levels and different decades. But knowing this doesn't stop people from doing it. And the reason is stranger than you'd think. There's a term for what we're describing, conspicuous consumption. Buying something primarily so other people can see you bought it. A watch that costs as much as a car. A bag with a logo readable from across a room. A car that costs as much as a down payment. You're not paying for the object, you're paying for the message. And the message is, I'm doing fine, better than fine, I'm ahead. The problem with that message is you have to keep sending it. Because the moment you show up in last season's version or the model 1 tier down or nothing at all, the signal breaks. People recalibrate. And that recalibration feels like loss, even if nothing real changed. So people finance it. They put it on cards. They stretch it across 36-month payment plans. Not because they're reckless, because they're afraid of what it means if they stop. According to the Federal Reserve's 2023 consumer credit data, revolving credit balances hit over $1.2 trillion in the US that year. A significant portion of that isn't emergency spending, it's maintenance spending, the cost of sustaining an image month to month. The result isn't wealth, it's debt that looks like success from the outside and feels like a trap from the inside. And the strangest part, most of the people living this way don't actually know how deep in it they are. A 2019 analysis in the Journal of Economic Psychology found that when people are asked to self-report their credit card debt, they underestimate by roughly 40% on average. That's not lying, that's genuine miscalculation. If you think you owe $4,000, the bank's records say $6,700. That's not a rounding error. That's a month's rent you forgot you borrowed. I did this for a long time. Every individual charge looked manageable. This one I can cover. That one's temporary. It's not that bad. And I never added them all up until one night I finally opened a spreadsheet and actually did. The number was $6,200. Not catastrophic, not unrecoverable, but real. And what hit me wasn't the number itself, it was the realization that I'd been telling myself a story for years while making it. That I was fine. That this was what people at my level did. That I could afford it because everyone around me seemed to afford it. The purchases were never really about the things. They were about staying in the frame, staying plausible. That's what makes this harder to see than regular financial problems. It's not ignorance, it's identity. You spend money to be a certain kind of person, and questioning the spending means questioning the person. That's not a math problem. That's something closer to grief. If this is useful to you, the subscribe button is just below the video. That's the only way this channel keeps going. No hard sell, just people deciding it's worth coming back to. Totally your call. Here's how easy it is to confuse the two. Someone makes $400,000 a year. Doctor, lawyer, VP of something, doesn't matter. That number sounds like wealth. Now add the mortgage on the house that matches that income, the 2 car payments, the private school tuition, the travel, the wardrobe, the club memberships, the obligations that come with being someone who earns $400,000. By December, what's left? Sometimes not much. Now picture someone making $120,000. Smaller house, older car, no logos on anything, but every month a portion goes somewhere it doesn't get touched. No revolving debt, no financing on things that lose value, just slow, quiet accumulation over years. Who's wealthier? Most people would say the first one, but wealth isn't income. It's what you own after everything else is paid. There's a name for what happens to the person at $400,000. Lifestyle inflation. The salary climbs, $70,000, then $90,000, then $120,000, then $150,000, and at every step the lifestyle follows it up. Each raise becomes permission. The car gets upgraded, the apartment becomes a house, the house becomes a bigger house, and from the outside it looks like success. In some ways it is, but net worth, that barely moves. Because every step up in income got matched by a step up in spending, and the gap between the two, the only gap that actually builds wealth, stayed thin. There's also a version of this worth naming because it goes unexamined. The person who deliberately underspends can use that as cover for something less virtuous. Hoarding. Anxiety dressed up as discipline. Refusing to spend on things that would actually improve their life because the act of keeping money has become its own compulsion. Quiet wealth becomes a story they tell themselves to justify isolation from normal human spending. That's not freedom either. That's just a different kind of trap, with better optics. The goal isn't to stop spending. It's to spend on things that are actually yours, not performances for people who aren't thinking about you as much as you think. The people who actually have money tend to share one thing. They don't need you to know. No logos, no statements, nothing that requires you to recognize it to work. When you talk to them, they don't bring it up. Not out of false modesty, just it stopped being interesting to them a long time ago. Meanwhile, the people still climbing, still competing, still justifying, they need the signal to land. The brand has to be visible, the car has to be the right one, the image has to be maintained month to month. Because the moment it slips, so does the story. One group is paying to be perceived. The other one stopped paying for that years ago. There's a phrase for it now: stealth wealth, or quiet wealth. It's not about pretending to be poor. It's about not needing to prove you're not. And that distinction, needing versus not needing, is where the money actually is. Because one of those mindsets costs a lot to sustain, the other one just quietly compounds. Here's what wealth actually does. It doesn't make you more impressive at dinner. It doesn't show up in photos. No one will compliment you on it at a party. What it gives you is options. When something breaks, you fix it. No panic, no payment plan, no charge that sits on a card for 6 months. When an opportunity shows up, you can take it without asking anyone's permission. When the job becomes unbearable, and sometimes it does, you can leave. Not immediately, but eventually, because you have the room to wait. The person who spent everything on the image is stuck. He needs the paycheck to cover the car, the lease, the card balance, the story he's been building. He can't leave. He can't slow down. He's paying rent on his own life. The person who kept more than he spent has room to wait, to choose, to say no to something that isn't right. That's what money actually buys when you don't spend it. Options. The ability to make a choice that isn't made for you by last month's bills. You can't photograph options. You can't post them. They don't signal anything to anyone, but they're the only thing that actually lasts. If you're sitting with this right now, here's what I'd suggest this week. Just look. Open the accounts. Add up the actual balances. Add up the actual debts. Find the real number, not the one you've been assuming. Seeing it clearly, even if it's uncomfortable, is the only place this starts. Then ask yourself one question. What am I spending on because I genuinely want it? And what am I spending on because I think I'm supposed to? Not a judgment, just a question, but the answer will tell you something. And then pick one category, the one easiest to lose track of, and write it down for 30 days. Paper, phone, notes app, doesn't matter. Just make it visible. You don't have to fix anything yet. You just have to see it. There are 3 kinds of people in that parking lot. The ones who are stretched thin and need you to think they're not. The ones who are comfortable, but still running a quiet competition with people who don't know they're competing. And the ones who are actually fine and stopped caring about any of that a long time ago. The first 2 groups are spending money to send a message. The third group stopped paying for messages and kept the money instead. That's the gap. Not income, not job title, just what you keep versus what you perform. The guy in the newer car might be making more than anyone in that lot. He might also be closer to the edge than anyone there. You can't tell from the outside. That's the whole point. The guy in the older car, he's not a character in a fable. He's just someone who stopped buying the story. You get to decide which one matters. Subscribe if you want to keep thinking this way, and I'll see you in the next one.